Hey everyone, Rick here from Fear Not, and today I want to talk about guns. Now, I want to go ahead and qualify this video right now. I am not like a professional gun guy. I've educated myself as a prepper. I purchased my firearms based on my set of qualifications that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I'm not like a gun dealer or have extensive hunting knowledge or a bunch of other things that some other people might have. With that said, this video is mainly for preppers who are brand new to firearms. Maybe you have one, but you got it, just because you wanted a gun. You don't really know what's best. You just bought something. Or you have no firearms whatsoever. You have no idea where to start. That's where I come in. So, guns. Now, firearms and guns have so much information out there. It makes it almost impossible to know where to start. You can start asking friends and family, kind of like, well, why'd you go with this or why'd you go with that? What caliber do you think is best? What type of bullet? And they're going to go over, well, like, what are you trying to do? Is it for home defense? Is it hunting? Is it self-defense when you're outside of the house? The list goes on of what and why you would need different types of firearms. Now, for myself, I have a couple different ones here, and I want to kind of go over the different types of bullets and the reasons why I purchased these firearms. So the first thing that we're going to start with are my two pistols. Both are Springfield. This is a Springfield XDS. It's a 4-inch. This is in the 9mm caliber. And then this is a Springfield XD9. It's the Mod 2. It's also a 4-inch. Now, it might be kind of silly, why would I have two that are basically the same thing? Well, the reason is I wanted to go with the XDS for something that is much easier to conceal. This is for bad stuff's happening and I need a lot of ammo. So, kind of my reasoning for it. Now, a 9mm round is pretty small. If you've never seen one before, it's basically the length of a quarter. But this has a great deal of stopping power. Next, we have a very classic firearm in the US. It's a Ruger 1022. The 22 is a very, very easy round to find. Well, at least it was. It's becoming easier again. But this is a tiny little thing. Super tiny. Now, with like a 22, you can kill things with it. Obviously, any sort of firearm can be deadly in the right hands. But with the 22, the downside is the ammo is very cheap, which is actually an upside. Ammo is very cheap. It's very light, so if you're looking for a firearm that you're like, I want to have a bug-out bag, or I want to have something that I can carry around that's accurate, but it's not like super heavy, the 22 is a good choice. The ammo is very cheap. It's easy relatively to come by. I mean, there are some stores like Walmart's that have purchasing limits on how much of the 22 you can buy. The reason being it's so cheap, so it makes it easy to hoard or easy to buy, and people are buying it trying to sell it for more, and list goes on. But I mean, a box of 50 is very small. And that right there is a box of 50. I mean, it easily could fit in your pocket, and people wouldn't have any idea, except it makes a little bit of like a rattling sound when you've got it full. The next that we have, let's go with what people probably would go with more for home defense. This is a Mossberg 590A1. It's a 12-gauge shotgun, which is like the most common type of shotgun. The great thing about shotguns, you can get all different types of loads of munition, which is the bullets, the rounds, the cartridges, without having to change your gun. So if you wanted your shotgun to be able to shoot, really far away and with a lot of stopping power, then you could go with what they call a slug, which is basically just a really large bullet. It's huge. Compared to, like to a 22, it's huge. It's a massive round. And that type of stuff's going to bring down a bear. If it hits a person, wherever you hit is all torn up. Then you can get what they call buckshot. Buckshot is what you use to hunt deer with. One thing you can. And it's basically, depending on the type of load that you get, it can have a number of pellets, like 8 pellets, which are basically just little metal balls in there that when they shoot, they kind of burst out. But I mean, it's basically shooting however many pellets you have. So if it's an 8-round buckshot, it's like shooting 8 bullets all at once at your target. So yeah, they're not going to hit, like a machine gun where they're going dee 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 dee. They're going to, spread, but I mean, they're going to shred anything that they hit. They are super powerful. And then, for example, you can also get something called birdshot, which is basically just a bunch of tiny little pellets loaded it into a regular 12 gauge shotgun shell, and what therefore is for like hunting birds. Some people will use them as self-defense because their thinking is, I live in an apartment or I live in a house with, not very thick walls. I got neighbors that are very close by, or I don't want to go shooting through all the different rooms in my home. They might go with birdshot to try to prevent over penetration, which is where, I got a bad guy across the room, I shoot the bad guy, good, I hit him, but then it went through him and then through a wall and then hit one of my family members. That's one of the scariest things about shooting a firearm in your home is you don't know who's on the other side of the wall, where they're at. Now, if they're sleeping, you probably have a pretty good idea where they are, but you don't know 100%. It's dark, you're tired, you're half awake. And then not to mention, depending where else you hit, it could go through your wall or through your window and go into a neighbor's house. And then you have no idea where they are, most likely. It's just kind of how it is. So a lot of people, a number of people, I'm not going to say a lot, because basically when it comes to firearms, you've got a lot of keyboard warriors, you got a lot of ex-soldiers, you got a lot of hunters, you got a lot of police officers, you got a lot of just gun enthusiasts that know a lot but have extreme, like polar opposite views on certain things. Now there are a number of people, if you do enough research, that will kind of make like an average, middle of the road assessment, but depending on who you're going to for information, you will literally have, people saying every single person should have, whatever, a type of high capacity round magazines, and they're just able to just lay waste to 30 pirates or 30, robbers all at once, and then you got other people that are like, you don't have any need for that. You just need a double barrel shotgun that holds 2 rounds. Some people, I've run into gun store employees. When I went to go look for my shotgun, I wanted something, this is just a side note here, I wanted a 12 gauge shotgun that would last so that I could one day hand it down to one of my sons. I wanted something that was kick-ass, that was going to be strong, it was powerful, it could hold a lot of rounds. And, I started asking, I was like, well, I'd like to get a side saddle. And basically they laughed at me and they said, well, as soon as you go ahead and you take the shotgun and you pump it, they're going to leave. I'm like, well, what about the guy that doesn't leave? What about the guy who hears the gun and has his gun ready and still comes into the room, wanting to shoot people or take things? So my concern is not for the guy that I can scare out by just showing my firearm and saying, don't come over here, I've got a gun, and then he leaves. Great. I didn't have to shoot anybody. He didn't have to die over something stupid like a TV. Great. Good. We're done. But for the guy that doesn't, or for somebody that actually came in to maybe try to kidnap one of my family members, or came in just to kill people. People are crazy right now. You got people that are hopped up on all sorts of mind-altering drugs where they're going in, they're killing people and then eating them, where, there's footage of where you're shooting these people and they're not stopping until there's sufficient damage or brain injury. Are those likely scenarios? Absolutely not. Those are not. Hopefully they never become common scenarios. But I still, as a prepper, like to prep a little bit towards the 1% of situations. Hopefully no one ever breaks into my home. Hopefully I'm never in a situation where I may have to fire on someone. Hopefully. I pray that I never have to. But if I do, I want to have something ready to defend myself. But the point being, when I was at that gun store talking to gun store employees, salesmen, you would think they were trying to sell me something maybe a little bit stronger, a little bit better. But instead they're basically like any old generic, 12 gauge shotgun will do, just because all you gotta do is rack around in it and the guy should leave. Well, for one, as another thing, if you rack around loud enough in a quiet house, one, they know you have a gun. Two, they know where you are. So if I'm in a situation where I feel like I need to go scout my house to make sure that no one's in my home, I don't want him knowing, one, that I'm even walking around, and two, that I have a gun. Not because I want to kill somebody, absolutely not, but I don't want them knowing and sitting there on the other side of the door that I have to cross through in order to investigate and do a perimeter check or scout through my home, clear the house, that they know where I am and they're sitting there with their shotgun or their pistol or their rifle waiting for me. Because if I get killed, what's going to happen to my family? You know, who's going to be behind me, you know, depending on where I am in the home, that the bullet's going to pass through me, or he's going to miss and hit my kid or my wife. I don't have time to deal with that. And, you know, he's in my house. I got to make sure it's safe. And I got to do what I have to protect them. Now, the only other rifle that I wanted to go over, which is, you know, the media's favorite thing to hate right now, is the AR-15. Now this, the way that I have it, makes it look all types of super scary and intimidating depending on who you're talking to. And honestly, I mean, there's stuff on it like a cheek rest, a piece that I added to the buttstock so that way it didn't feel as negative on my shoulder as what it did. You know, I've got things here to protect the rail. I've got, you know, a foregrip and a sling and some other stuff. I mean, it's not anything super expensive, super fancy. It just makes it look intimidating, you know. And then if you've never seen one of these before, a AR-15, depending on the type that you get, mine is chambered for 5.56. If you get something that's chambered for 5.56, you can also shoot 2.23. Basically, 2.23 and 5.56 look identical. It's just different things with the grains of the bullets and things. And if you purchase a 2.23 AR-15, it cannot fire 5.56. However, if you purchase one that fires 5.56, it can fire 5.56 and 2.23. So it just gives you a little bit more versatility, and it costs a little bit more, but in my opinion, I get a little bit more versatility. Now, as far as the qualifications why I purchased these firearms, I have like basically a 3-point scale system that I just made up for myself. The first is the ammo of the gun that I want to buy, is it effective enough at stopping a threat? You know, I don't want to purchase a firearm like I was going to get a 380. And when I was doing research between like a 380 and a 40 and a 45 and a 9mm and all these other types of bullets, a 380 was good, but a 9mm was better. So in my mind, a 9mm is a fairly cheap round to get. It's pretty common to find. Well, then maybe I'll just go ahead and go with that. A 22, like I mentioned earlier, can kill someone. Can kill an animal, can kill a person, whatever. But there are plenty of stories of where someone got hit with a 22 in their leg or something, and they kept going thinking that a stick poked them. And then later they found out, oh, shoot, I got shot. So, yes, a 22 can be lethal. Yes, the bullets are very light, so you can carry a lot very easily. They're very easy guns to maintain and take care of. There's not a lot of parts. You know, basically a 22 is a fantastic first gun for anybody just because it's so easy to take care of it, to clean it, to take it apart, to learn how it works. The ammo is cheap, so you can go to the range easier, but it's not as effective of a firearm when it comes down to it. The second thing for me that makes or breaks a gun purchase as far as when I was first starting is the ammo cheap enough to buy that I can buy enough to train with without going into debt. Being able to purchase a 5.56 AR-15 meant I could fire 2.23. 2.23 is cheaper. So I can go get 2.23 in a larger quantity and go to the range and practice. I can purchase 9mm pretty easily. I can purchase 12 gauge super easy. 22s also easy. And the third point is the ammo common enough that if we were in a emergency situation where, you know, it's the end of the world or martial law or, you know, just basically society has broken down, even if temporarily in my area, is the ammo common enough for me to find to be able to keep feeding my rifle or keep feeding my handgun? So for me, again, I know I'm saying the same things. 9mm is very easy to get a hold of. 12 gauge is very easy to get a hold of. 22, 2.23, or 5.56 is going to be common types of rounds that you're going to find in the U.S. Outside of the U.S., depending where you are, you know, AKs are going to be very proficient and all over the place. Well, then getting a 7.62 would be a much better rifle to have because then it's just the ammo's everywhere. But for me here in the U.S., I wanted to purchase something that, you know, the ammo had enough stopping power in my mind that I felt good enough with, that it was cheap enough for me to be able to get to train, and then there was also something that was easy enough for me to find if I ever had to go scavenge or hunting for rounds. Or if I traded with people. If someone had like a bunch of 9mm, I know some people that are preppers would never ever trade ammo, but the possibility is still out there that, you know, I would be able to trade with someone, or, you know, receiving the trade, Or if there was somebody else in my group and they have another type of common type of ammo, we can share ammo, and then we've got 2 firearms, or however many in the group, being able to respond and act rather than just mine. So types of guns that I would avoid, if you care whatsoever what I think, I would try to avoid any of the older rifles or older pistols from like previous world wars, like World War I or World War II, which not a lot of people probably walk around with World War I weapons. But I know like the Mosin Nagant is a very popular gun still. Yes, you can find ammo for it. Yes, it is powerful. I mean, it's a big freaking gun. I mean, it's very long, and it's basically like shooting a small cannon. I mean, shooting a 12 gauge is a lot like that, but I mean, a Mosin is up there as far as, whoa, I just fired a gun. You know, you fire a Mosin, then you go to a 22. The 22 just sounds like you're just snapping your fingers in comparison to the Mosin. Now, there are plenty of Mosin Nagants out there. There's plenty of World War II firearms, or various other wars that you can purchase firearms, and some of them might be cheaper or comparable to modern day stuff. And there's plenty of people that will say, well, this type of caliber firearm is tried and true, it's very effective, it'll bring down a man or bring down a deer or do whatever you got to do. It's got great stopping power, it's got great penetration, and all these things that sound great. But then you're like, okay, well, where can I get the ammo? Oh, well, it's surplus. I don't want to fire anything that's surplus ammo. The reason being is I don't want anything that's fed on ammo that I had to basically go rob a museum or a gun store for their like obscure types of ammo. I want something that's going to be everywhere. I want something that I can find pretty much anywhere in the US that I can find rounds for it. That's my thinking. So to wrap it up, if I were to pick one type of caliber that I would focus on, it would probably be the 9mm or the 223, well, the 5.56 223. The reason being, a 12 gauge is fantastic. In a team setting, a shotgun is devastating. It really is. It's a fantastic firearm, except that the more research that I'm doing, a 9mm or a 223 would still have good stopping power, but wouldn't have as much penetration in a home. I've fired birdshot, I've fired slugs, and buckshot, long and short ranges, just to kind of test it for myself. Birdshot can be really devastating and extremely deadly within 20 feet. So you think you're in a house, you're in your hallway, and this guy comes around the corner, and you're like, hey, stop, get on the ground, and he doesn't, or he raises his arm, and you can't tell, and you think he has a gun, and you go to fire. I mean, he's going to die. He's going to be shredded. But if you miss even birdshot in your home, I'm personally concerned that will go through at least one wall. And I live in an apartment where there's a lot of drywall. Drywall and studs aren't really going to stop a whole lot, especially if all I hit is drywall. So for me, it's not an all concrete home or something where I know, okay, it's going to take a really good shot at really close range to penetrate through my walls and worry about hitting somebody. In the apartment that I'm in, I have to worry about that. A 9mm and a 223, I was just doing research before this video just to freshen up on stuff, and it seems to me that a 223 might be the better choice in a home setting. Even though you got to walk around with an AR platform firearm, it will not have too much penetration. A 9mm will also be kind of similar to that. It will have fantastic penetration for the person, but hopefully not too much to the wall. So what you got to do is, once you figure out what type of firearm you want, you got to do research as to, okay, well, what type of caliber firearm does it shoot? And then, do I want a higher grain or a lower grain, which basically just changes how strong the bullet is or how slow it is, and there's reasons for both, and you just kind of figure out what works for you in your home setting. So I hope that this video was helpful for you, especially if you're brand new to firearms. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. If you feel there was anything that I said that wasn't factual, wasn't sound enough, comment. I'm still learning, and on this journey, my wife and I are in positions now, as we are doing our business here with Fear Not, that we are not, ex-Navy SEALs or ex-Green Berets or something crazy like that. We're ordinary people that are learning how to prep, and we're turning around to the people behind us that know less than us, and we're like, okay, let's help bring you up to where we are too, so that there's more and more people that are prepared. And as we keep learning, we have things that we can turn around and share with you and everyone else. So that's kind of what we're after. So please like and subscribe the video and to our channel. If you'd like to follow us on Facebook, our Facebook account is Fear Not LLC. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, commenting, and everything, and we really appreciate it, and talk to you guys again soon.